So let's say you earn a million naira a month and you need only 600,000 naira a month to meet your basic needs. The remaining 400,000 naira, because of the culture around you, you are giving it out to people, or you are going to clubs, spending the money, or you're just wasting the money instead of investing and saving. You'll be surprised that the mindset around you affects the way you behave.
Yeah.
And if you have the wrong culture surrounding you, it will be very difficult for you to rise above that culture. So, three things: lack of access to culturally relevant financial education, misinformation, and the economic culture surrounding you.
Now, across Africa and in the diaspora, financial literacy remains one of the most critical yet underdeveloped skills for individuals and small business owners. Many people struggle because they lack income, but because they lack clarity on how to manage it effectively. Now, from savings to investment, emergency planning to wealth building strategies, the absence of simple, actionable financial framework prevents Africans from taking full control of their economic future. Now, this topic of discussion is practical approaches to wealth, savings, and investment for Africans. Our guest is Simi Ajayi, content marketing strategist, growth leader, finance thought leader. So glad to have you, Simi Ajayi.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Oh yeah.
Yes, crystal clear. Now,
Great.
Simi, financial literacy remains low across Africa. From your experience, what are the reasons people struggle, to manage their money effectively?
From my experience, there are three basic problems. The first will be a lack of access to culturally relevant financial education. Second will be misinformation and then limited access to financial tools. And I'll quickly explain what I mean. Of course, these days, most people have access to the internet. So it's easy to assume that people can just Google up whatever financial knowledge they need to have. But the content that exists out there, for it to be practical to you, needs to be culturally relevant. So, what do I mean? If I'm talking about a financial concept like compounding, for instance, but I am talking at the back of my mind, my target audience are people who live in North America. There will be examples and things I would say that will resonate with North Americans. But if you're a young man living in Lagos or Abuja, Nigeria, it will fly over your head, right? So, another way to explain this would be the way as Nigerians we listen to music. So, of course, we listen to hip hop from the US. Some of us like Indian music, some of us like music from all over the world. But when we are listening to Nigerian music, it resonates in a different way. So financial content and financial education is similar, right? You need financial content that is culturally relevant to you and that you can assimilate and resonate with. The other challenge that I can identify is misinformation. And misinformation doesn't have to be bad intentioned, right? So an example, just to make it clear, would be: imagine you get, you just graduated from school and you get your first job. It's a really good job. And then your dad is giving you financial advice. Now, his financial advice is well intentioned, but he's probably talking about things. He could be talking about things that were relevant maybe 30
20
years
years
ago
ago.
when
Yeah.
he was at your stage, right?
Yes. Yeah.
He doesn't understand what's going on right now. So even though it's well intentioned, it might be misinformation. The final challenge that I see is limited access to well, I'll say culture. Let me just say culture, right? And when I mean culture, I don't necessarily mean tribe or, it's the mindset of the people surrounding you. And whether we like it or not, a lot of us live in environments in which the economic culture is more about survival than thriving. So, a quick example would be: you finally get the job you need, you finally have enough money. So, let's say you earn a million naira a month and you need only 600,000 naira a month to meet your basic needs. The remaining 400,000 naira, because of the culture around you, you are giving it out to people, or you're going to clubs, spending the money, or you're just wasting the money instead of investing and saving. You'll be surprised that the mindset around you affects the way you behave.
Yeah.
And if you have the wrong culture surrounding you, you will find yourself, it will be very difficult for you to rise above that culture. So, three things: um, lack of access to culturally relevant financial education, misinformation, and the economic culture surrounding you.
So you've hinted it. In Africa, it is obvious that many of us depend on informal ways to learn about finance or financial literacy. How do you see this situation? How has it hampered us to a particular level?
So what happens is that you make wrong financial choices. The truth is that financial education, most of it is common sense. Let's be honest. So it's not rocket science, not something you don't know or you don't understand. A lot of it is discipline. However, I have a lot of clients that are self-taught, right? They do their own research by themselves. We all have access to the internet, and we all have access to courses. There's Coursera out there. There are so many places you can learn from. But one of the things I've noticed about self-taught people is that, first of all, there's a limit to the long-term planning that they do. So I have clients who are in their 20s, and we're already talking about what they're going to do with their money when they're 65, right? I
Yes.
have clients who are in their 40s, and we're saying when you are 85 years old, when you're 90 years old, this is, if you're still alive, hopefully, this is where that money is going to be coming from. I have clients in which we are talking about transferring the money to the next generation, making sure that your children and your children's children have access to funds. Another major problem I've noticed is structure. So a lot of clients that I have that manage their money by themselves, one of the problems they have is that they know, okay, I have this account here, I have this account there. Oh, this account, I have it over here. And then they'll tell you, oh, I even forgot that I had this account. So it's things are not organized. And if you want to optimize or make sure that your finances are as structured as possible, it needs to be really, really organized. What you don't measure, you can't improve
Right.
on. So we need to know that this particular bulk of your money, the investments you've made here are for these purposes, either for your retirement, it's for your children's education, or it's for this, and you can track exactly what you are doing. I have segmented this money for emergency funds. I've segmented this money for this reason. So those are the two main challenges I find when and then there's lack of clarity. So you don't even know where to put the money, what to do with the money, and there's a lot of confusion that can come out of
Yes.
you not having the right type of education or the right mindset.
All right, thank you very much, Simi. So tell us about your three bucket rule and how it helps individuals take control of their income while balancing essentials, growth, and of course, enjoyment.
It's very simple. I won't say I came up with it. It's common sense, right? So one of the things I specialize is breaking down complex ideas into very simple,
Balanced.
in a simple way that anybody can relate with. So it doesn't matter if you're earning $1 million a day or you're earning $1 a day. It's something that you can apply practically to your life,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
One of the things that shocked me in the final, when because my background is communications, really, right? One of the things that shocked me about the financial industry is that most people in the finance industry are very bad storytellers. So, anyways, the three bucket rule, yeah. So the three bucket rule basically allows you to track how you spend your money and lets you know where your money is going. So there are three buckets. So just imagine there are three buckets. The first bucket is your must haves. So those are the things that you have to do with your money. You don't have a choice. So you need to pay your rent, you need to pay your mortgage, you need to
School
buy food,
fees,
your
food. Yes.
groceries, you need to survive, right?
Yes.
So if you don't pay your rent or you don't pay your mortgage, you are homeless. So it's
Yes.
a must have. So when your money comes in at the end of the month, let's assume you make a million naira a month. You have to pay your rent or your mortgage or whatever it is. Nobody cares whether if you don't do it, you're going to be homeless.
Yes.
So every single thing that you have to do,
Yes.
you create
Put in a
that
bucket.
list and you put your money into it, right? So that's your first priority.
Yes.
The second priority for you are your future goals, right? And your future goals will determine whether you have a future ambition. If you don't have future ambition, you're not going to have future goals. And future goals can be as mundane as I want to buy a car next year, or I want to buy a house, or I want to go on vacation. And it could be, real germane things like I want to have more education, I want to save, I want to invest. That's your next bucket. That's the second bucket.
Yeah.
In which what so let's assume I'm earning 1 million naira a month and 600,000 naira has gone into the things that I must do. Now I have
Yes.
400,000 naira left. The second bucket must be, my future goals.
Yes.
And I plan it and I say, okay, these are the things that I need to achieve. So the another word for that is discretionary income. So it's money that you don't have to spend, but you are reinvesting in yourself so that you can increase the amount of money you have, or hopefully one day you have enough assets so that you don't have to work anymore, right? That's the second
Yes.
bucket. The
Yes.
final bucket is just to be realistic, because even from personal experience, um, there was a time in my life in which I was so focused on what I was trying to achieve and what I was trying to do that it didn't occur to me that I needed to relax and just chill. So I call that, so personally, I call it my fine boy money segment, right? But it's really
Yeah.
about it's really about freedom lifestyle. So
Yes.
you need to have a budget that says, okay, I'm going to take my family out. So,
Yes.
yeah, I'm going to take my family out this weekend, so that we can just have a good time. You
Good time.
need to have a budget for that as well. So, those are the three different buckets. And as you can see, it's so simple that anybody can apply it
You
to
can.
themselves. And last thing I'm going to say is that if you apply this three bucket rule, as simple as it sounds, you're ahead of at least 50% of the game when it comes to finances already.
All right. So I know a lot of us make money, right, in different means. But the question now, because everybody always say, oh, invest your money, use this to invest your money. But then again, there are different types of investments that exist. How do you educate people to know what or where goes to what? Because look, the truth is, we've noticed that financial literacy is poor. When you say it's poor, a lot of people don't even know what it is at all. How do you advise people to know what goes where? Because as recent as last month, I had to begin to differentiate between investment and savings, and why you need to know which one is which, right? I had to just go recently read about it, and extensively. It wasn't even taught in schools. How do you explain that to young people who are entering into the system?
Yeah, I honestly don't understand why it's not taught in schools. Personally, I believe, at least in secondary school, it should be part of the curriculum, right? Even Basic Finance 101. And this thing you've talked about is something that amazes me. Like, I have clients who are literal rocket scientists. Like, these are brilliant people. But when it comes to basic financial things, they just don't know it. Not because it's difficult, but because, people just don't pay attention. So, knowing when to save and when to invest, if you understand this, trust me, you are ahead of most people. Now, it's a simple rule. Any money I don't need, if okay, let me put it this way. If I want to know what money I should save, I save money that I believe I'm going to need in the next 0 to 3 years, right? And
Okay.
there's a reason behind this, right? But I think it's too complicated for this forum. 0 to 3 years, if I have, let's assume I have 5 million naira, and this 5 million naira, I am going to need it, or I believe I will need it between 0 to 3 years, I will save that money. Now, saving means that my principal is safe. You can't put your money, well, hopefully, you will not put your money in a bank. Let's say you put 1 million naira in a bank, and tomorrow they will now say it's 900,000 we have. We don't have that 1 million naira, right? As long as the bank doesn't fail, they will not say that your principal is safe. But the opportunity cost is that the interest rate you get on those savings is relatively low, right? That's the
Yes.
savings, money that I believe I will need between 0 to 3 years. if I believe that this money, I have 5 million naira, I don't have a reason to touch this 5 million naira 3 years plus. So 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I don't think I will touch this money, then I invest it. Why? Because the risk in investment is higher. So it is possible to invest your money in whatever stock or whatever it is. It could be real estate. There are different types of assets, right?
Yes, yes.
It could be whatever it is. And I invested 5 million naira. And then 3 months later, I go there. The asset I invested in is now worth 4 million naira. But because I have a long term perspective,
Yeah.
I understand that there's volatility and the money can go up, it
Go
can go
again.
down.
Yes, yes.
Right. So that's exactly how to differentiate between savings and investment. So your viewers who are paying attention, honestly, if this is all they grasp from this conversation, they are ahead of the game.
Oh, fantastic. I'm sorry, I wanted to also ask, because look, the truth is, it can be overwhelming, right? I know you're in Canada, and I have friends who have moved from Nigeria into that system, and one of the things that they always find, maybe as culture shocks, is taxes. And they have to kind of learn how to do taxation. But then again, there are so many of these things that exist in the system there in Canada. How do they stay not overwhelmed? Because, I mean, just from simple basic conversion of savings and investments, it can feel overwhelming to some people, right? Now imagine when you now have a lot more that they have to learn about to fit into the system. How are they not overwhelmed?
Yeah, I mean, it's a culture shock for all of us. When I came into Canada myself, I felt I was already very financially literate. I knew everything there was to know, but North America is a different ball game. It's so different from Nigeria and where we're coming from. And that is why here in Canada, it's difficult. I won't lie. You need to actually educate yourself. And that's why here in Canada, we have a lot of financial advisors. We have professionals that can take you through. Personally, I am building a community called Tax Community because the very first interaction most people have with finances here is tax. And I know that Nigeria has a new tax system right now. So back in Nigeria, the Nigerian tax system is way more similar to the Canadian system,
Okay.
now with the new tax system. So, anyways, we've built this community called the tax community, and it's a place where you get peer-to-peer interaction. So, I've been in Canada for, let's say, 5 years. You have been in Canada for 2 months. I can let you know some of the mistakes I made, right? So you don't have to make them.
Make
And
them,
also,
yes.
it's a place where you have access to financial professionals who you can ask questions and they will answer you depending on the question and the complexity and the layer, either for free or for a small fee. And I think
Yes.
things like this, especially because Nigeria is making strides. I know it is difficult to live in Nigeria right now, and a lot of people don't think Nigeria is making progress, but those of us watching from outside, we can see some of the policies being put in place right now that is structuring Nigeria in the right way. So Nigeria is going to get there very soon. And if you're in Nigeria right now, you need access to financial professionals to just break down some of these concepts because finance is something I call anti-mimetic, right? There's someone coined that word and I really loved it. And what that means is that finance, so a meme is, you know what a meme is? A meme is
Yes.
something that sticks, an idea that sticks, that is easy to share, that people like to talk about. Finance is the opposite of a meme. Nobody wants to talk about their finances. It is hard. It doesn't stick. People don't like talking about it. When you have people like me, and there's several other people out there who take the seemingly complex concepts in finance and break it down to a level that is easy for you to understand, and then you gain from it, and everybody's happy.
All right, thank you very much for that, Simi. So, in your opinion, what role can government and financial institutions play in promoting financial literacy across Africa? Because we really need this financial literacy to get by, the whole economy.
So the obvious thing most people will tell you is that they need to embed financial literacy into the curriculum. And that's something I will support in secondary schools, university, maybe even primary schools. it needs to be in the curriculum. Very basic things, right? There's no reason why in secondary school you shouldn't learn about the tax system, since our tax system is getting more complicated, right, and more advanced. So that's the obvious answer. But what I personally would say from my experience is that at least here in Canada and in North America generally, there are accounts, for want of a better, or let me say financial vehicles that have been promoted by the government that incentivizes ordinary citizens to do some things. So here in Canada, if you the government has incentivized you to save for your children's education, because tertiary education is expensive over here, right? It's not free, it's expensive. So they've incentivized you to save for your children's education. So it's a no-brainer because it's tax-free. They even give you grants, they give you free money and all of that. So it's a no-brainer. I want to save because of what the government has done. I want to save for my children's education. And then I go out of my way because they're offering me free money, they're offering me incentives, tax, tax-free stuff. I go out of my way to learn about it. So I go and meet a professional and say, talk to me about this education planning system. Those are the kind of things that I think we should do in Nigeria and in Africa generally. The government needs to incentivize you to do certain things. We want you to plan for your retirement so that when you retire, you don't become a burden on us, right?
Yes.
So these are the incentives we will give you so that you are you want to save for your retirement. And if you don't understand how the retirement system works, then go and find out, go and talk to a professional who will talk to you about it. It's not complex. So I think that's the most important thing the Nigerian government needs to pay attention to. Incentivize people to do things you want them to do. Save for education, save for retirement, invest their money, give them incentives. We here in Canada, we have lots of accounts and lots of programs that incentivizes us to do these things. And that's why people go out of their way to get financially educated. We can do this in Nigeria as well, and it will work 100%.
All right, thank you very much, Simi. So earlier on, you talked about saving and investing. I like to put myself in the mind of a typical Nigerian. Let's say, for instance, I have a business that I want to go into. Maybe I want to go into buying and selling or something like that, and I need a capital. Now, I draw from, are you saying that I should not draw from my savings because I don't have money to invest? I only have savings. Maybe I have 5 million that I've saved. Can I draw from that 5 million, maybe 3 million out of it to invest? Or are you saying I should now go and source for another capital to invest in my own passion or my own business?
Okay, I hear you. So first thing is to define what investment is, right?
Yes.
You can invest in anything. The basic definition of investment is putting money into something so that you can realize bigger money later, right? That's the simplest
Yes.
way to explain it.
Yes.
But you can invest in anything. You can invest in yourself. So if I decide to take out of my money to go to school, I'm investing in myself right now, right? Because the idea is that when I graduate, I'll be able to go back to my office and tell them to pay me a bigger salary, right? That's investment. I can invest in stocks. I can invest in the financial markets. I can invest in somebody else's business. So there are different definitions of investments. What you are talking about specifically is investing in your own business.
Yes.
And that is, I would say that is left to you. It depends on the environment you are in. If you are in an environment in which capital is cheap, capital is getting more expensive globally, everywhere in the world. But I'd say 5, 10 years, let's say 5 years ago, at least in the Western world, capital was very cheap. So what it means that the cost of borrowing money, so the interest rates that you have to pay back is the cost of borrowing money, right? So if the cost of borrowing money is cheap, I have 5 million, but a bank can give me 5 million and all I have to pay is 1%. Why do I need to use my own 5 million?
Yeah.
Other people's money now, right? I'll use their own money
Do it,
and do the
yes.
business, right?
Yes.
But if you're in an environment where the cost of capital is high, which it is getting high everywhere in the world, but if you're in an environment where the cost of capital is high, if you have your own money, then it gives you freedom to do whatever you want to do, right? So of course, you can take out of your own money and invest. What I was saying is that the difference between savings and investments, when I was referring to investments, when I was talking about difference between savings and investments, I was the assumption was that that investment is investing in the stock market or investing in another person's business, that kind of stuff, right?
Yes, yes.
And that's why I was differentiating between money. If I need, even if I'm investing in my own business, if I know I'm going to need this money to pay my rents at the end of the year, that's not the money that I will take to go and invest in business.
Yes.
You understand? Because I can't
Yes.
tell if the business will crash or not.
Yes.
So if I know I'm going to need it in a very, I'm going to need that money soon, the general logic is that you do not invest that kind of money. You save it.
Save it.
And the definition, the financial technical definition of savings is you put it in a place where that money is safe. Nothing will happen to the money, but you are getting interest, which can be low, but at least you are getting interest. The technical definition of investments is that you are applying some risk into that money. So that money, you can lose it, you might gain. But if you gain, you're going to gain
Well,
something relatively high,
higher.
right?
Yes,
So
yes, yes,
I
yes.
hope that clears that up.
Okay, so I mean, now we're talking. Thank God you mentioned business because it goes lead into the next question I was going to ask. We can agree that small businesses and local communities help economies to grow, right? I mean, Nigeria is filled with small businesses. Perhaps it's the woman that is selling something small at the corner of her stall or whatever. Now, how can financial education or some of this information help them become sustainable and it doesn't become, oh, after today a woman dies and that business just goes away?
Um, the reason why this is a difficult question is because there are certain aspects that cannot be taught. So things like discipline, how do you teach somebody discipline? It's either you decide to be disciplined or not, right? But that's one level. And I don't believe that Nigerians are less disciplined than anybody else. Um, Another major problem that I have identified is lack of access to credit. And let me just quickly talk about
Yeah,
what I have noticed
please.
here. Um, you will be surprised at how many Nigerians living outside Nigeria, and that's because I have access to a lot of them as
Yes,
clients,
yes,
are very interested in investing in Nigeria. So when I tell my clients, invest your money, you have so amount of money, invest it here, invest it here, invest it here, invest it here. These are the returns you will get. They will say, oh yeah, that is all well and good, but you know, I wish I could do something in Nigeria. They just feel comfortable investing in Nigeria. But the problem they have is that they don't know which investment avenues are credible and which investment avenues are not. So one of the things which is a future goal of mine is to build like a bridge between the diaspora and Nigeria or sub-Saharan Africa, in which credible, and I'm talking about micro investment too. So I'm not talking about anything large, $500, $1,000, $2,000,
yes.
$5,000. $500, you'd be surprised at how much it will change the life of that lady who has that idea to 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 be frying akara with some innovation and some commercial level, right? Once you can ascertain that this business is credible, you'll be surprised at how much influx of money will come to Nigeria from outside. But to address your question, what financial education does for you is that it brings clarity.
Okay.
So even here in North America, I see a lot of people who are raised here, born here, they still have that problem. They don't know how to differentiate from their own personal money and business money, right? So
Yeah.
because my business made a profit of $5,000 today doesn't mean I made a profit of $5,000.
$5,000.
Right?
Yes.
There are so many things to think about. So so clarity when it comes to financial things brings impact because it teaches you exactly how to separate things and put them into different buckets or different pathways
Yes.
so that you can know exactly what to do with your money, and so that you don't waste money. There are so many well-intentioned people out there that put their money in the wrong things and lose money, lose investors' money, lose the money that people gave them, not because they are bad people or terrible people, but just because they don't know
You don't know.
what to do with the money. And that's what financial education does for you. And I believe that in Nigeria, what we need is education that resonates with us, that speaks our language, so that we understand. I mean, how do you talk to the woman who is selling akara that is very popular, that has an idea to sell akara to 10,000 people every day, for instance? There's nothing on YouTube for her. We need to develop
Yes.
that kind of content. And yeah, that's one of the things that I want to do, that I'm planning to do. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Simi Ajayi, for your insights. Thank you for joining us on Just Africa today.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.